Hello and welcome to another author publisher chat at Good and True Media. We have Sarah Murdock here, the author of Wonderfully June. We're really excited to talk to you, Sarah. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's crazy. I got the box. This is the book, and it looks fabulous on a bookshelf. I got the box just recently, and it was just crazy to actually hold something that we created. It's really cool.
It's a thing. It's like a thing, not an idea
I
anymore.
know.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
take
We
me
were
through
like
it.
about
Yeah, it's. I
go
mean, I've
ahead.
I've published a few books, obviously, and I've written some too, and it definitely feels better as an author because it really was like a brainchild came out of your head, and now it's a physical product right here. And I'm so excited for this. The book's called Wonderfully June. Tell us, how did you get the idea? How did it come to you?
Um, so it's funny because I was actually thinking about that before, and I feel like I can't really attribute it to any amazing idea I had because when you first asked me, I was like, no, I don't have any ideas. And then all of a sudden it just I just kind of felt flooded with this desire to let a book speak to children who don't normally become the hero of the story.
Yeah.
And my oldest is not the typical heroine, where she's the outspoken charismatic one. She's the one that kind of stands back and lets someone else be in the
Yeah.
light. And I know that's got to be the same for other kids. And so I just wanted selfishly her to feel seen in a book, but also all the other kids that felt the same way. And I feel like once that little idea was sparked, it just came flooding in, which made me feel like this was not just my idea, this was
A call.
more than me,
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so your oldest. Tell us about your oldest because we've had a lot of conversations about her, and obviously I follow you and see her doing really well at gymnastics or soccer or whatever, and I'm super pumped for her. But go ahead and tell what is different about her that would make you want to write a book where someone like her is the heroine.
Yeah, so my oldest is a highly sensitive child where she doesn't basically her world is exaggerated, so a really great way for you and I to kind of be in her mind is think about going over to someone's house for the first time, and you maybe don't know them very well, and you're there and you hear every sound, you smell everything, you feel your clothes are itchy on you, people running past are it's like a tornado. It's she's gathering all of this stimulation without being able to filter any of it out, and it's on steroids.
Yeah,
And
like
I
a
feel
super
like
sponge.
we
You know.
do a really yeah, and we do a good job of filtering out some of the background noise or things like that, but for her it's just big. All
Yeah.
of the feelings are big. Any clothing that she's wearing, if it's tight, it's really tight, or any noise is really loud, or so it's just she can get overwhelmed really easily. And so before we were able to help her find coping mechanisms, she would just shut down. You would just physically see her curling in on herself, trying to block all the stimulation, and it was really hard for her because if you think from now an outsider's perspective, if she's at a playground or if she's at someone's house and there's all these kids around, not many other kids want to take the time to go play with the girl sitting in the corner who's so overwhelmed,
Yeah. So I guess what the result seems to be social anxiety, maybe difficult to make friends.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
book really touches on those themes very directly, right? The power of friendship, the
Yeah.
power of being able to find confidence in yourself through a friendship, through familial support, but also just like
Yeah.
well, tell us about June in the book, right? So June is a highly sensitive child. What happens? How does the book start? And it's kind of difficult for a highly sensitive. This situation we plop this character in is like it has to be
Yeah.
like one of the hardest things for a highly sensitive child. But go ahead and tell us what
I
happened.
know. Yeah, well, and it's funny because when you first approached me, it came at like a time where our life really was like not suited for a highly sensitive child because we
Yeah,
had just moved across the country. We did not know anybody. We were living in this tiny cramped apartment where there's like literally no personal space, And then we moved into this house where there were these kids playing outside, which is like some kids' dream, but like my daughter and like June in the book, it's like June is sitting there looking out thinking, man, I would love to go play with them, but oh my gosh, that's so intimidating,
yeah, yeah,
and like in the book, the mom is talking to June of like, go play with your sisters, or your siblings, and they'll help bridge that gap, and that's actually something we do with our kids is we're like, Jane, go hang out with, Abby will help, bridge that gap. And so June is having to face this challenge of being in a new place, being around new kids, really wanting this to be an opportunity to quote unquote break free from, her past insecurities, but is realizing like, oh, that's not just gonna like magically happen because now I'm living in a new place, and
yeah,
she's having to love those bits of her that she originally saw as like downsides, but love and embrace them and learn throughout her challenges and triumphs of the book that she's exactly who she's supposed to be. Like she doesn't
yeah,
have to change who she is. She has to just trust who she is,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite spreads in the book is this one right here. I'll show a little preview here. But this is when Jane gets to her new house. And look at the juxtaposition of how all her brothers and sisters are experiencing this new house. And then she's just kind of on her own page over here, holding her book and her teddy, and just even the side profile of her face. This is not a welcome sight. It's just like daunting, intimidating, and it's like, oh no, I just moved across the country with my crazy family, and all this change is a
Yeah.
little too much. And I mean, we everyone feels that way a little bit, where everything's just daunting and overwhelming. But for a highly sensitive child, especially, I mean, even just a child, it's very difficult to adapt to those kinds of situations when the foundation that you live your life on kind of shifts under your feet a little bit and you can't kind of get your bearing. And
Yeah.
I feel like this book is really good
Yeah.
for kids who are undergoing change in their life, which all kids are. Maybe it's a new school, maybe it's going from homeschooling.
Yeah.
I know you're a big proponent of homeschool, to a schoolhouse, or vice versa, and
Yeah.
or like trying anything new, and that's the kind of, I'm sitting here thinking as you're talking, and I'm like, how did I make it through childhood? I was experiencing something new every day of my life. And I'm like, all I
Yes.
want is the same old day, where I go to work and I come home and I have my, I play with my kids and I, watch some, whatever my wife's watching, Real Housewives of whatever, and I go to sleep. I want that every day. And, the kids, everything's changing for kids. But hey, tell me about
Yeah.
this. So, um, familial support is super big in this. And I remember when we were talking and actually going through the editing process, one of the pages in it that I said, hey, maybe we should cut this down was this page here. Okay, meet my family. Meet my family. And I was like, should we take this much time to introduce the family? And you held to your guns and you said, yes, we need that. And I said, okay, all right, let's go with it. And then I realized after we published the dang thing, that's like the whole point. It's the family. It's friendship and family being those anchors in a highly sensitive child's life.
Yeah.
I mean, and I take a lot of pride being a publisher, Good and True Media. I think a lot of modern publishing, the family is the problem, like, the deadbeat dad in Disney movies and stuff like that. But in our books, they're the solution. And so I'm really glad you held to your guns and said, no, we need to introduce these brothers and sisters and everything, not only to showcase how Jane is different, but to characterize her support base that ultimately leads her to her triumph in the end. So just talk about familial support. Talk about, like, how as a family do you support your oldest daughter? How does her brothers and sisters support, like, anyone out there with highly sensitive children, or just children that are having a real trouble adapting to change? How can the family kind of understand where they're at empathetically and support them and get them through it? Because it's difficult.
Yeah, I think so actually, man, I still get choked up whenever I think about it. When Jane was younger, I just thought that she was being difficult, I just why can't you look at people in the eyes? Why can't you respond to people? Why can't this, that, and the other? Your sisters are doing it, and actually, it was my family, my sister-in-law, that was we were on a family vacation, and she was like, hey, I think you should really read this book, The Highly Sensitive Child, because she saw Jane for what Jane was really actually struggling with, and so it was from the get-go, this whole process was family support. And so for us going forward, it's a lot of understanding, this is truly how she's processing everything. She's not trying to be hard, she's not trying to be difficult and trying to get attention or whatever it is, and as her siblings, they are more like me. They're just explosions, just loud and chaos and energy and just, and so it is a collective, when we see it's getting too much, we have to think outside ourselves and be like, hey, you know what? We need to take it down a notch, we need to if it's at a playground, because they're kids, playgrounds are the end all be all, and my second daughter is my second daughter is really awesome at knowing to be the icebreaker, and help bring her in, and help be that bridge. And then at home, we have to stop and just remember, one, it is a family unit, we are a team. That's what we constantly tell our kids. We are a team. We are best friends. Friends are wonderful and necessary, but forever y'all will be each other's support, and so we really try everything we do, whether it's with Jane or with any of our other kids or whatever, that we come at it from this collective family unit. And I was actually talking to another mom who has a kid who's a highly sensitive child as well. And she had a wonderful tip. She said sometimes when she can tell that things are ramping up, they just turn the lights down. Like that physical, taking one of the stimulations down, you know, and that kind of just settles the mood. Now then you're going over and flipping all the light switches off and making your house pitch black, you know, but just that lowering kind of helps everyone's brains to be okay, wait, take a deep breath, you know, let's maybe shift how, but also just seeing learning triggers, and learning cues that like things are starting to get a little too crazy, and helping everyone. Not that like her siblings are like in charge of, you know, in charge of Jane. I don't mean it like that. We don't approach it like that,
Yeah.
but we do that for everybody. Like everybody is on everybody's team,
Good. Yeah.
So
I mean,
I don't
that,
know.
that's great. And, what I was thinking when you were saying that is we're learning, at least I am, I have my fifth child due in 2 weeks. So, my
So
fifth child due in 2 weeks, and you have five, right? You have five or four?
yeah,
Five? Yeah.
5.
By the way, how's
Yeah.
Willow doing? How's Willow doing?
She's good. She's like a ball of fire right now, and
She's
fiercely independent, but totally
she's
incapable.
she's awesome. But anyway, so what I was saying is, a father of five, I feel like I'm learning my kids, and because they're
Yeah.
growing up, they have signs of their mom, signs of me, and we actually even have adopted a child, so she doesn't have any biological like traits of her mom or me, but it's interesting to learn our children. And what really touched me when you're talking about kind of discovering that Jane is a highly sensitive child was the fact that your family kind of nudged you in that direction. So even your family was a familial support for you as you're learning something new. And so, I mean,
Yeah.
just think about like how we've grown as people and adapting to change with even our own familial supports. Now we're adulting and providing that familial support for our own children as well. I just think that's kind of a beautiful kind of concept, is kind of learning from our family and making our family. When I say our family, I mean like our children better for it.
Right.
It's pretty
Yeah.
amazing. This book has always been about family and friendship support. What was your favorite part about writing this?
Mm. I I know. I don't know. Being done. No, I'm kidding. um, I
Writing
feel
a
like
children's book is way harder than it looks, right? Because you're writing for the
it
child,
is.
you're writing for the mission and the message, but you're also writing for the parent as well. So it's not as
Yeah.
easy as like
Yeah.
writing a James Patterson spy thriller because there's more pages in that, but you got one audience. You got a lot to cover with the children's
Yeah.
book in shorter
Yeah.
amount of time. So
Yeah.
it's tough.
I feel like, honestly, my favorite part, thinking back to like creating the actual story and the physical words, that we're putting into this book, um, I would be totally clueless as to what I was going to say. Absolutely, like, I got nothing. And I would sit there at my computer, and then all of a sudden, like, kind of like I was saying earlier, like there would be this little spark, and I would just start typing, and then it would just start flowing out of me, and like more and more eloquent. And I don't mean that like I'm tooting my own horn at all, because I really truly feel like specific parts of this book are bigger than me, and they came from a greater power than me, and like the things, like even like the poem that's in the book, I got teary-eyed every single time I read it, and that's like my response to like knowing something is truly good, because I'll like start crying. I'm a very emotional person. So I think those little moments, and just the true and deep hope that even one other child
Yeah.
reads this
Oh
book
yeah.
and thinks, I'm not alone, and a big thing I keep forgetting to say, but a big thing I want, because obviously everyone who reads this book is not going to be a highly sensitive child. They might not even have a sibling who's a highly sensitive child,
Yeah.
but you can be a friend to
Yeah.
anybody, highly
Yeah.
sensitive or not, you know, and that was something that I loved in the book, which was mirrored in like life experiences of friends that Jane has made, of being the friend who sees the kid who's not overtly outgoing, you
Yeah.
know, and taking the time to be the friend to the kid who really, really needs the friend,
Yeah.
but can't
Yeah.
express that, you know, because it's hard. And it is hard as the parent to like watch your child struggle
Yeah.
because they're not running out and wanting to be friends with everybody. They're just quietly, really, really, really wanting a friend to see them and be okay with them. And you're just like watching this as the parent. So I hope that it also inspires kids to be that friend, to see the kid who's standing over in the corner and think, okay, maybe she's not being standoffish. Maybe she's just really at a loss for how to come into the situation, you know?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. We just got a call from the teacher at the school. Anytime you get a call from the teacher at school, it's like, oh no, what did my son do? Right? But they were asking, hey, there's a new kid and I would like your son to maybe reach out a little bit more to him because he's kind of not that Charlie was doing anything wrong. It's just that extra effort. And I sat down with him. I said, hey, son, you were the new kid at like 3 schools in the last 2 years. So you know what it feels like. And remember, I always talk to him about empathy. And
Yeah.
I think that's a great lesson from this book is
Yeah.
empathy, to
Yeah.
empathize with how other people feel and to literally be able to put yourself in other people's shoes. It's difficult in this world that's so feeding you everything, Fortnite and everything that you could
Yeah.
possibly want. And, it just becomes so self-centered of a world. But empathy is one of those
Mhm.
lessons. I'd call it a virtue. It's one of those virtues that we really need to teach our
Yeah.
kids. I think this book opens those discussions in a beautiful way. Let's talk about the artwork real quick. Andre Chiolin, incredible. What made you pick him?
I mean, as you can tell by our bookshelf, and we have a sun painted up on our wall, I
Love it.
am drawn to color and cheer and, you know, just my mom calls it like loving preschool vibe. Like I'm totally
Yeah,
down with that. And I loved how bold he was with his colors. And I loved how there were actually a few sketches that we looked at of his in his portfolio that it showed power in a not in your face
yeah,
mainstream kind of way because it showed
yeah,
power through imagination and it
yeah.
showed power through caring, you know, there were these like it was just I feel like every yeah, I feel like he
Beautiful.
just does such a great job of making each illustration its own story. And that's something I really wanted with this book to be because I've got kids from 1 to 10, you know, so I
Yeah,
want this book to be something that my youngest likes to look at because the pictures are cool,
yeah,
and for my older ones to like the story behind, you know, and
yeah.
I want that for other kids to be drawn to the pictures. And I feel like his were just so captivating. I was blown away. I was
Yeah.
absolutely blown away.
One of the little tiny touches, I'm always looking at this because I work with a lot of different illustrators. But one of the things that I really love about him is these watercolor backgrounds that kind of fade. There, it adds a soft touch.
Yes.
This is not a Pixar movie. This is beautiful artwork that's been painted, and it kind of has this beautiful balance of softness, but that color and that punch and that whimsy. I mean, look, she's literally flying on a bunny in the clouds right here, capturing the imagination that's going on. I mean, it's so great. And then obviously, I love his collages. So this is June and Milo. We haven't talked about
Yeah.
Milo at all, but his her friend that lives down the street. And through this friendship, as well as through the support of her family, she's able to present her poem that she's been working on at the block party. And this is a
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful kind of friendship that's born on the page. And I just love the collages. I mean, you know those movies where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
what do you call it? Not a collage, but a montage. It's like a friend montage happens in a movie, and then he like
Yes.
does that in this little adventure. So you just kind
Yeah.
of get a sense they're playing, they're walking together, they're riding bikes, they're fishing. It's a lot of fun seeing that friendship
Yeah.
blossom on the page with his art.
Yeah. And I love how you were talking about how in that one picture, she's like riding a bunny in her like imagination.
Why
And
wouldn't
I
she?
love that he is somehow capable of making that look beautiful
Yeah,
instead of like, why is this person riding a
yeah,
bunny? Like it's like, wow, that's really cool. And it's like there in another picture, there's like a rainbow and dolphins, and it's like
yeah,
such childlike
yeah,
stuff he's drawing, but it's so beautiful. Like
yeah.
that's what I loved. It was a childlike wonder, but in a really beautiful way.
It's really a beautiful imagination. That's kind of like if she was a heroine, her superpower is her imagination, and it comes through in this
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
beautiful poem. I want to read for people watching a few I just want to read. Can I read the poem? I would love to, if you don't mind. It's not that long,
Yeah.
unless you would. Do you want to? You got the book behind you. Do you want to read
I
it?
can.
I don't mean to put you on the
Sure.
spot or
I can
anything,
get
but
through it. No.
maybe,
We'll just see if I can get through it without crying, remember?
well, this really this poem
Okay.
captures the essence of everything that we've been talking about. How the highly sensitive child
Yeah.
perceives the world, but then also the resolution at the end. And I think that this poem really brings home the whole point of the book. And so, if anyone's listening to this
Yeah.
interview and thinking about this book, listen to this poem, and it really is the heartbeat of the whole story. Try not to cry.
Yeah. I know.
If you cry,
You'll have
I'll
my back
off
if I do. Okay. All right, here we go. The world is loud, too fast. A whirlwind of chaos flying past. How can they not see or not know? Why don't they want it all to slow? I know my world isn't like the rest. It's not always easy, but I do my best. I'm learning to calm the storm inside so I can take it all in stride. Like the trees or blades of grass, when the storm comes, I can outlast. I am strong. I am strong and will not break. A better world my strength will make. Every flower, animal, bug, and stone creates more beauty together than alone. My world is different, this I know, but my light inside deserves to show. If the world seems too loud or quiet, close your eyes, please, just try it. Feel your power blossom and grow, then stand tall and deep down know you were made exactly right. You are needed. Share your light.
Man.
See, I can't do it. I can't get through it without crying.
Well, it's just beautiful because it's not just what I love about this is that it's the recognition that you were made right. God, our amazing creator, has made us correctly. And you aren't made by mistake. You're designed to be that individual, unique person that you were made to be, and share your light. You are needed. Someone out there needs you.
Yeah.
And it's hard to feel that when you're sitting alone at a lunch table, but our children need to, learn empathy, to go join that child at the lunch table because they're needed in that moment.
Yeah.
And they will discover very soon that that child sitting there, that they need them too. And a good friendship goes both ways. I just want to say thank you, Sarah, for writing this book. As a father, I have a child who is, I don't know how to describe him. I don't know if I'd call him highly sensitive, but he is bombastic. I call him a grenade of a kid. He just kind of, goes off in either direction.
Yeah.
He's either the happiest kid in the room or the worst. And it's actually kind of funny. It's like I ask him, how was your day? And it's either the best day of his life or the worst day of his life. There's never an okay, but
No middle ground.
I'm excited to share this book with him too. And to, even though he's a boy and June's a girl, I think it's relevant and, to everybody. And I'll just ask you one last question before we sign off here. Tell us your hope. You've touched on it a little bit, but tell us your hope about this book. What do you hope it does for kids out there, for families out there? When you were writing it, you had an intention, you had a purpose and a mission. So we hope it touches a lot of people, but what specifically do you hope for with this book?
I have these I can go between these huge lofty goals and then these are hopes and then these small hopes that, I want the kids who don't normally feel seen to feel seen and to be the hero of their story, because typically when you're reading a book to the kids, the hero and the main character is this courageous, extroverted, charismatic person. But in this book, the hero is not, and I want kids and adults everywhere to feel like they don't have to be that overtly charismatic person to be the hero of their story and to be so needed,
Yeah.
I just really want kids to know that they're not an accident.
Yeah.
These things that they might feel makes them different are not an accident, they were made beautifully, even if it's different than their friends, and they're so needed and so wanted.
Absolutely. Just a few images before we go, talking about that hero of the story. There's Jane triumphantly after she read that beautiful poem that Sarah just recited for us. But I just realized I was looking down, we're talking about heroes. She's kind of striking a hero pose here. It's kind of like you can almost. And her parents are right there with her. And I love this last image of the whole thing. She's out there drawing on the driveway with chalk with her friend Milo, and it says so beautifully, "You were made perfectly right. You are needed. Share your light." So we'll end it there. Sarah, thank you so much for writing this book. Thank you so much. It's been fun getting to know you. And I never met David, but tell him I said thank you, because I know that the dad in the background is doing a lot while mom's conquering the world. So thank you so much for sharing this story and sharing such a personal topic in your life with our customers. So Wonderfully June is available for sale, but depends on when you're watching. This might be for pre-order, but it's probably already published, so you can find it anywhere: goodandtruemedia.com, amazon.com, barnesandnoble.com, walmart.com, all those places. But come to our website and check out our whole catalog of inspiring, beautiful picture books that are wholesome, written upon a Christian worldview for children, and always talking about virtue and how to improve ourselves to be better reflections of our Creator. And Sarah Murdock has certainly done that with Wonderfully June. Thank you so much for talking with me today. And I guess we'll sign off there.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.